Chapter 89 to 91. Yuto pushed open the door and stepped out, just in time to encounter several masked Konoha shinobi. He calmly blocked the doorway and said, "Who are you? The patient needs rest." "We are members of the NBU," said the man leading the group, who wore a dog-faced mask. "Anbu? I bet they're from Root," Yuto thought with a smirk, then said, "Even if you are Anbu, you can't just barge into the ward. This child just returned from the battlefield. Can't whatever it is wait until he wakes up?" "It's like this." The Root member softened his tone. "Lone Lion. We are his comrades. We heard he encountered danger on the front lines and were worried, so we came to check on him." "Oh. Once the patient is transferred to a regular ward, you can visit any time. But for now, he needs to be monitored in the emergency room for 2 hours," Yuto said as he closed the door. "Those are the rules, unless you have an order from the Hokage." He turned and walked away, not sparing the Root members another glance. It was forceful, but given his current status and position, such a tone was normal. Besides, this was the Konoha hospital, and few would dare cause trouble here. Yuto returned to his private office, reclining in a wide chair, quietly formulating his plan. Yamato is probably around 8 years old now. No known parents, kidnapped by Orochimaru as a child and subjected to the Hashirama cell transplantation experiment at a secret site. Out of 60 children, he was the sole survivor. Even Orochimaru deemed Yamato an ugly failure and discarded him. However, the young Yamato, with a strong will to survive, held on until Danzo Shimura found him and took him to be raised in Root, giving him the code name AA. Those Root members' only goal in coming here was to ensure Yamato's wood-release Kekkei Genkai was not discovered. If Yamato's wood release was found out, it would expose the human experiments involving Hashirama's cells, revealing Orochimaru's experimentation site and Danzo Shimura's plans, igniting a major crisis. Of course, as long as he didn't use wood release, no one would suspect that the 8-year-old Yamato possessed the first Hokage's Kekkei Genkai. After all, many shinobi had both water and earth chakra natures, which wasn't unusual. Yamato couldn't possibly use wood release while unconscious. Since the likelihood of discovery was extremely low, Root allowed Yamato to be sent to the hospital without taking any drastic actions. Unfortunately, Yuto was a transmigrator. "Yamato, Hashirama cell experimentation site." Yuto kept pondering these terms, his thoughts gradually becoming clear. He licked his lips, left his office, and exited the village, performing reverse summoning in a secluded forest. Yuto arrived once more in the lush yet lifeless Shikotsu forest. "Slug Sage," he called the Slug Sage out respectfully. "Is that you, Yuto?" A rumbling sound emanated from deep underground, where a massive life form gazed at him from afar. "What do you need my help with?" Yuto grinned, looking quite radiant. "Slug Sage, I need something from someone's mind." The contents of the mind could either be memories or mental power. As Lone Lion, Yuto had the authority to request help from the Yamanaka clan for such a trivial matter. They wouldn't refuse. But coming to the Slug Sage implied, this is something that must remain hidden. "Yuto-kun, you should learn a genjutsu, not just for intelligence and combat, but because practicing genjutsu will help you understand the brain and mental power better." "You're right. However, I already have a backup plan for learning genjutsu." "Very well." The Slug Sage remained silent for a moment. Shortly after, a slug no larger than a fist emerged from the ground. "I've placed a genjutsu in this slug called Sage Art, Worm House. Place it inside the person, and you'll get what you want." "Thank you, Sage." Yuto picked up the slug and hesitated. "Is there anything I can do for you? You've helped me a lot since the Battle of the Land of Hot Water. There will come a day when I need you. You are an unceasing stream," the Slug Sage said, then fell silent. Yuto nodded respectfully and left the Shikotsu forest. Bubbles, bubbles. A boy opened his eyes, fearfully taking in his surroundings. He was soaking in a pungent chemical solution, wearing an old breathing apparatus. Through the cylindrical glass tank, he could see strange metal instruments outside. He knew this place well. This was his hell. He would die here, along with 59 others. His body would deteriorate, his organs fail, all his cells suffering from intense rejection, waiting for death in agony until thrown into a pit to be scavenged by vultures. No, this is a dream, the boy gasped. He had indeed endured all this, but now he had survived and been taken in by Lord Danzo. His code name was... Suddenly, strength surged through his body and he smashed the glass tank. Chemical solution enveloped him as he fell to the ground. Wood release! Wood hammer! The boy's arm transformed into a massive hammer. He charged forward, smashing into a wall just as he reached it. Bang! The wall collapsed, and the bright moonlight spilled onto the ground, revealing the distant lights of Konoha and the towering Hokage Rock. Yes, that's right. This is a dream. I'm a root shinobi. I have power. The boy laughed heartily, running towards Konoha. This was the path away from death and nightmares. However, he didn't notice that the moon above was different, more animated, closely watching his every move. Rather than a full moon, it was more like a gigantic Byakugan. Yuto opened his eyes, rubbing his forehead in fatigue. Soon, the small slug carrying the sage's genjutsu emerged from the emergency room and discreetly came to Yuto's desk. Good work, the Byakugan user whispered, petting its antenna. Return to the sage with my thanks. Poof! White smoke billowed, and the slug vanished. Yuto closed his eyes and carefully recalled the path to the human experimentation lab. Not too far from Konoha, making it convenient to transport supplies, but not too close to avoid easy discovery. Even the soil hardness and air humidity were perfect. A superb location, orchestrated by Orochimaru. Truly worthy of being a veteran, Yuto muttered. TN. Maybe give this translation a review, please. Yuto knelt on the tatami mat, staring absent-mindedly at the steaming tea in his hands. Yuto. The voice of Yuto Hyuga rang out, tinged with dissatisfaction. Did you listen to everything I just said? Yes, Hiyashi-sama, I understand, the bandage-wrapped boy muttered. But I still think I'm too young. Noticing the boy's attitude had softened compared to previous times, Hiyashi seized the opportunity. Yuto-kun, we shinobi are ultimately human. As humans, we need friends and family. Getting married and having children is something you inevitably have to do. When I was your age, my fiancé was already chosen. Yuto blinked but remained silent. Hiyashi thought the boy was wavering and continued. Your parents were also engaged around 15. As their blood inheritor, you should also start a family. This isn't just about you. All the family members do the same. Spreading our bloodline and passing down the Byakugan is our mission. Yuto Hyuga, you must follow this. It's the will of both the clan and the village. With both the gentle persuasion of an senior and the authority of a clan leader, Hiyashi's words were skillfully delivered. Yuto set down his teacup and hesitated. Hiyashi-sama. You may leave now, Yuto-kun. Think carefully about what I've said today. Hiyashi waved his hand, indicating the boy could go. As the Hyuga clan leader, Hiyashi was adept at using words to pressure others. He knew the pressure he had placed on Yuto was immense. In a few days, whether Yuto was willing or not, the engagement would be set. In the Branch family, where could a caged bird freely fly? Marriage, with a wife and children, these were even stronger cages. Yuto left the clan leader's house and walked calmly outside. To be fair, with the increasing pressure from Hiyashi, Yuto was indeed nearing his limit. After today's conversation, unless there was a major unforeseen event, the engagement would be arranged within a week. But Yuto knew a major event was certain to occur, and not just any event, but something incredibly significant. So he didn't pay much heed to the recent conversation. After the drastic change erupted, Hiashi wouldn't have the time to bother with such trivial matters. As he walked towards the exit of the clan grounds, he coincidentally encountered Yuto Hyuga. In the half-year he hadn't seen her, the girl had become much thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. She had transformed from a lively girl into a sickly beauty. Yuto suddenly felt a pang of pity. Malnutrition could lead to visual nerve diseases. Don't damage those eyes of yours. He had even prepared a pink-tinted glass jar for preserving her Byakugan. He was always meticulous, considering even posthumous care, thinking to himself, "Should I dig them out early to prevent damage?" Yuto outwardly remained calm and gentle. He stepped aside and nodded slightly. "Meiko-sama." Meiko hummed in response, not sparing him a glance as she walked deeper into the clan grounds. Love in the shinobi world was very steadfast. Once mutual, it rarely shifted for life. Yuto sighed and moved away from the Hyuga buildings, heading to the rear mountain of the Senju clan territory. The rear mountain was deserted. He found large trees, reclined on a branch of a tree, and gently closed his eyes. Before any great battle, if possible, Yuto would find a quiet place to meditate. It had become his habit. As a transmigrator, knowing the plot was his unique advantage, allowing him to foresee events and seize opportunities. Thus, in the past years, he had tried to avoid altering the storyline. However, as his power grew, the scope of events he influenced widened, making changes to the plot inevitable. A bird flapping its wings might not stir any winds, but a dragon roaring in the sky could cause hurricanes and tsunamis. Great figures in the world could trigger endless chain reactions with a mere movement of their fingers. Yuto now had such influence, even if only for 3 minutes. The genjutsu granted by Slug Sage was incredibly potent. Even though Root had set up defensive jutsu in Yamato's brain, the power of the sage still infiltrated, revealing the path to Yuto. The path to the Hashirama Cell experiment point in Konoha. Orochimaru had stolen the first Hokage's cells and conducted human experiments there, with 59 child subjects dying, leaving only Yamato alive. Obtaining the Hashirama cells, kidnapping ordinary people and shinobi, acquiring enough medical equipment and supplies, and concealing all traces. Orochimaru couldn't have accomplished all this alone. He needed a skillful partner, just like Yuto, who had the help of Slug Sage. That partner was undoubtedly Danzo Shimura. Although the original story briefly mentioned the Hashirama cell experiment, hints like raising Yamato and later using Hashirama cells to balance the Sharingan's energy indicated Danzo and Orochimaru's close ties. The apprentice and high-ranking member of the Hokage stealing the founder of Konoha's corpse. This was an incident severe enough to shake the very foundation of Konoha. If not dealt with sternly, the will of fire that united Konoha would become a joke. Though in the original story, Orochimaru's human experiments were eventually exposed, leading him to become a rogue ninja that was in Konoha's 61st year, 2 years from now. The most critical issue was that now, amidst the Shinobi World War, Orochimaru was a prominent frontline commander. Yuto couldn't help but feel sorry for Hiruzen. Punishing severely would affect the front lines. "Sorry, Hiruzen." Yuto preemptively apologized. With him around, Hiruzen couldn't suppress it. Even the Branch family boy didn't know what future tonight's actions would bring. However, he had a reason to proceed. Orochimaru's experimental base might have unused Hashirama cells. Even if not, after the drastic change, Konoha would undoubtedly be chaotic, giving him more chances and time to steal from the village. Profiting amidst chaos was a fundamental skill for a villain. Such a sinister move to trap Orochimaru, Yuto would execute without hesitation, considering Orochimaru is a martyr for science. After an unknown period, a bright light shone on his eyelids. The boy took a deep breath and opened his pure white eyes. The night covered the vast earth like a massive stage. The moon had risen. Evening. Kotsu Inuzuka moved through the dense forest, the moonlight casting a cool glow on him. If someone else said, "The moonlight feels a bit cold," it might be considered poetic exaggeration, but Kotsu could confidently tell others that the moonlight indeed carried a chill. The wind had a distinct scent, and the rustling leaves spoke in a language incomprehensible to others. As members of the strongest clan known for Ninkins, the Inuzuka clan had distinctive features: triangular marks on their cheeks, sharp canine teeth, and unrefined instincts and wildness that hadn't diminished. During the Warring States period before the establishment of the shinobi villages, enemy shinobi even derogatorily called them uncivilized half-beasts. Konoha wasn't very large in terms of land area, but the village had a barrier team guarding it, monitoring foreign chakra around the clock. However, as one of the world's most powerful military organizations, Konoha couldn't be confined to just its central area. From the village walls extending out to 10 kilometers, the area was under Konoha's absolute control. The village issued specific patrol missions to monitor this area. Though the patrol frequency wasn't high and its actual usefulness was debatable, it was necessary for asserting sovereignty. No one was better suited for patrolling the forest at night than the Inuzuka clan. Even without the terrifying eyesight of the Uchiha or Hyuga, the Inuzuka's noses were exceptional, not to mention their most trusted partners. "Tetsumaru!" The night wind blew, and Kotsu's voice was filled with joy could be heard. "Tetsumaru! Slow down! Woof! Woof!" A large lead-gray dog raced through the dense forest, its strong limbs and shiny coat visible even at night. This was a Ninkin with chakra. Though it couldn't speak, it had grown up with Kotsu and shared a deep bond, allowing them to perform combination techniques. They trusted each other to the core. However, the night's carefree run didn't last long. At some point, Tetsumaru suddenly bared its teeth and growled, "Grrr! Woof!" Kotsu knew this was Tetsumaru's reaction to an unfamiliar scent. A stranger outside the village at night? The thought crossed Kotsu's mind, and he whispered, "Tetsumaru, let's check it out." Simultaneously, he sniffed hard, enhancing his sense of smell through his clan's secret technique. Kotsu also caught the scent. A very peculiar human scent. After careful consideration, he decided to describe it as pure. The man and dog swiftly moved through the forest. Approaching without knowing whether the person was a friend or foe and lacking information and not reporting to the village seemed reckless. But being so close to Konoha, Kotsu was confident he could create a commotion to attract the village's experts even if he had to fight. Could they instantly kill us? It would take at least 2 moves to subdue both of us. Shinobi lived their lives in the shadow of death. Seeking absolute safety was unrealistic. It would be better to go back and raise normal dogs. Before long, Kotsu reached the source of the scent. Without the vision of the Hyuga or Uchiha, he could only see the stranger's appearance up close. Like a bucket of cold water, Kotsu froze in place. In the moonlight, a man lazily leaned against a tree. He wore a black robe and a menacing Hanya mask. Though he sat casually, his gaze at Kotsu was one of supreme disdain, as if looking down from the sky. The moon god Aizen Sosuke. How could it be? This guy. Kotsu's limbs went cold. Tetsumaru, an exceptionally intelligent Ninkin, sensed its owner's unprecedented fear and anxiety and uneasily whimpered, scratching the ground. The moon god's image had long circulated among the major shinobi villages. The Hanya mask had become his symbol. Konoha had collected battlefield information and survivor accounts. Led by the Nara clan, they compiled an analysis of this mysterious man's techniques and personality. He could manipulate repulsion and attraction, absorb chakra and ninjutsu, and wield a super-powerful attack capable of defeating a Jinchuriki in their Seven Tails form instantly. Extremely arrogant, intolerant of provocation, domineering, fearless. The Nara clan's analysis report highlighted one particular incident. Why did the moon god attack Kumogakure's people? His original goal was likely to collect Kekkei Genkai, Byakugan, and Shikotsumyaku. Kumogakure's shinobi were irrelevant to this. But during the final battle, the aftermath killed many shinobi, with Kumogakure suffering the most casualties. Moreover, in the end, facing the critically injured Killer Bee, the moon god didn't even bother to finish him off, but left him to linger in humiliation. The man named Killer Bee was crushed and toyed with, both physically and mentally. The most likely reason for this behavior was that the Eight Tails Jinchuriki's attack provoked that terrifying man. Therefore, encountering him, if you weren't the target or didn't have a reason to stand your ground, flee, run away immediately. Konoha's internal intelligence flashed through Kotsu's mind. He shivered, pinched his thigh hard enough to nearly break the skin. He gritted his teeth and decisively turned around, presenting his vulnerable back to the Hanya-masked man, and fled. Tetsumaru followed suit, running for their lives. Kotsu dropped to all fours, using the clan's unique four legs techniques, his fastest speed technique. The night wind howled, carrying a chilling wail into his ears, but all he could hear was his and Tetsumaru's heavy breathing. Nothing else mattered. Finally, they reached Konoha's village gate. You're Inuzuka Kotsu. What's wrong? What happened? The Chunin guard at the gate was shocked. Pant! Kotsu could barely breathe. He glanced back at the forest, feeling a mix of emotions. He really didn't act. Damn it! Are you implying I'm not even worth something on your eyes? He bit his lip, shook off the chaotic thoughts, and grabbed the guard's arm. Aizen Sosuke is here, he said breathlessly. Take me to see the Hokage immediately. Hurry! In the forest, Yuto stretched and smiled. Luckily, that Inuzuka was smart. If he had recklessly attacked, Yuto would have had to waste effort killing him. Using the god's mask wasn't worth it, and using gentle fist or chakra-enhanced strength might leave traces. The 3-minute mask mode had to be used wisely. Yuto patiently sat, calculating the time. 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. By now, that Inuzuka should have reported this to the top, Yuto thought, pulling out a precious mask.